My parents took me to court for buying a house, then claimed it was rightfully my sister's. My parents sued me for buying a house. I opened my door one Tuesday morning to find a sheriff standing there with legal papers. A lawsuit. My own parents were taking me to court, demanding I give my house to my younger sister Brianna because she deserved it more. The complaint claimed I'd stolen her opportunity, that I'd bought the house she wanted just to hurt her, that I owed her $425,000, the full value of my home, because our parents had always intended for her to own property first. My mother's signature was at the bottom. My father had co-signed it. My sister had written a 3-page statement about how I'd ruined her life by buying a house with my own money. I'd worked 3 jobs for 5 years to save for that down payment. I'd lived in a terrible apartment with no heat, eating ramen every night, putting every dollar into savings while my sister lived at home rent-free and spent her days shopping with money our parents gave her. And now they wanted to take it from me. What they didn't know as they planned their courtroom strategy was that I'd been documenting everything for years. Every dollar I earned. Every time they gave Brianna thousands while telling me to figure things out myself. Every text message, every email, every conversation. And when we walked into that courtroom 2 months later, I wasn't just going to win. I was going to destroy them. If you're watching this right now, drop a comment and let me know where you're viewing from. I want to know I'm not the only one whose family tried to steal what they worked for. My name is Juliana Parker and I'm 32 years old. I live in Charlotte, North Carolina, where I work as a senior financial analyst at a major banking firm. I grew up here with my parents Robert and Diane and my younger sister Brianna, who's 28. On the surface, we looked like a comfortable upper-middle-class family. My dad owned a successful accounting firm. My mom worked part-time as a real estate agent. We had a nice house in a good neighborhood, took vacations every year, never seemed to struggle financially. What people didn't see was the massive difference in how my parents treated their 2 daughters. Brianna was the baby, the princess, the one who could do no wrong. I was the responsible one, the independent one, the one who was expected to handle everything on my own while they catered to Brianna's every whim. Before I tell you about the lawsuit that tore my family apart and the courtroom moment that changed everything, hit the like button and subscribe to hear more real stories about families who tried to steal from the children they'd neglected. These stories might save you from people who think your success belongs to them. Growing up, the favoritism was constant. When Brianna wanted dance lessons, my parents paid for the most expensive studio in Charlotte. When I asked for piano lessons, they said we couldn't afford it and I should try teaching myself with YouTube videos. When Brianna wanted to go to a private high school, my parents paid $18,000 a year in tuition without hesitation. When I asked if I could apply to the same school, they said public school was fine for me and private school would be wasted on someone who didn't need the extra help. Brianna needs more support, my mom would say when I pointed out the difference. You're naturally capable. She needs the advantages to keep up. What she meant was, Brianna is worth the investment. You're not. I learned early to stop expecting equal treatment. I got my first job at 14, babysitting for neighbors. By 16, I was working at a grocery store. I saved every penny I made while watching my parents hand Brianna money whenever she asked. When it came time for college, my parents paid Brianna's full tuition at a private university. $45,000 a year. Room and board. Spending money. A car. Everything. For me, they said I should go to community college for 2 years to save money, then transfer to a state school. They'd help where they could, which meant occasional $200 deposits and lots of lectures about financial responsibility. I worked full-time while going to community college. I transferred to UNC Charlotte and continued working 40 hours a week while taking classes. I graduated with $28,000 in student loans. Brianna graduated with 0 debt and a degree she'd barely earned because my parents had paid tutors to basically do her work for her. After college, I got a job at a small financial firm. The pay wasn't great, but I was building experience. I lived in a tiny studio apartment that cost $600 a month. The heat barely worked. The neighborhood was rough. But it was mine and I could afford it. Brianna moved back home after graduation. She tried a few jobs but quit each one within months. The hours were too long. The boss was mean. The work was boring. My parents never pushed her to stick with anything. They just let her live at home rent-free while she figured things out. I watched my parents give Brianna $500 here, $1,000 there, buying her clothes and paying for her car insurance and phone bill. Meanwhile, when my car broke down and I asked if they could lend me $800 for repairs, my dad said, "You have a job. You should have an emergency fund." This is a good learning experience about financial planning. I fixed my car with a credit card and paid it off over 6 months. By the time I was 27, I'd worked my way up to a senior analyst position. My salary hit $85,000. I was making good money, finally. I started seriously saving for a house. I created a budget where I put 40% of every paycheck into a high-yield savings account. I didn't go out. I didn't take vacations. I didn't buy new clothes unless I absolutely needed them. I lived in that same terrible apartment with the broken heat because the rent was cheap. Every single dollar that wasn't going to necessities went into my house fund. Brianna, meanwhile, was still living at home at 26. She'd started an online boutique that my parents had funded with $15,000. It failed within 8 months. Then she tried becoming a social media influencer. My parents bought her professional camera equipment, paid for a website designer, funded her entire operation. That failed too. She's still finding herself, my mom said when I asked why they kept giving her money. Not everyone is as focused as you are. By 28, I had $60,000 saved. Enough for a down payment on a modest house. I started looking at properties in my price range. I found a perfect 3-bedroom house in a decent neighborhood. It needed some work, but it was solid. The price was $320,000. With my down payment, my mortgage would be $1,800 a month, totally manageable on my salary. I put in an offer. It was accepted. I was buying a house. My house. Something I'd worked for and earned entirely on my own. I was so excited I called my parents to tell them. "That's nice, honey," my mom said, her voice flat. "What neighborhood?" "Dilworth area. Near the park." Silence. "That's interesting," she finally said. Brianna was just looking at houses in that area. Oh, I didn't know she was house hunting. She's been talking about it for months. She found a house she really loved in Dilworth. We've been helping her figure out financing. Brianna had never mentioned house hunting to me. And helping her figure out financing definitely meant my parents were planning to buy it for her. "Well, there are lots of houses in Charlotte," I said. "I'm sure she'll find something great." I closed on my house 3 weeks later. It was the proudest moment of my life. I'd done it completely alone. No help from my parents. No financial support. Just years of hard work and sacrifice. I posted one photo on Facebook with a caption, "Officially a homeowner. Dreams do come true with hard work and determination." Within an hour, my phone started blowing up. My mother called first. "Juliana, we need to talk. Can you come to the house? I'm kind of busy unpacking. Can it wait?" "No, it can't wait. This is important. Come now." I drove to my parents' house, confused. When I walked in, my entire family was sitting in the living room. Mom, Dad, and Brianna. All 3 of them looked angry. "Sit down," my dad said. "What's going on?" "You bought a house in Dilworth," Brianna said, her voice shaking with rage. "The neighborhood I wanted. It's a big neighborhood. There are lots of houses. You knew I was looking there. You knew I wanted to live there. And you deliberately bought a house there to hurt me." "Brianna, I had no idea you were seriously house hunting. And even if I did, I'm allowed to buy a house wherever I want." "You've always been jealous of me," she said, tears starting. "You've always tried to compete with me and make me feel bad. That's ridiculous. We think you owe your sister an apology," my mom said. This was incredibly selfish. Selfish? I saved for 5 years to buy this house. I worked 3 jobs. I lived in a terrible apartment. I sacrificed everything. And you think I'm selfish? "You should have checked with us first," my dad said. "We were planning to help Brianna buy her first home. You've made this very difficult." "How did I make anything difficult? Buy her a house in a different neighborhood." "She wants Dilworth," my mom said. "She's had her heart set on it. Then she should have bought something."
But she didn't and I did.
Because you make more money than her, Brianna shouted. You've always had more opportunities. It's not fair. I make more money because I work. You've quit every job you've ever had. That's enough, my dad said. We expect you to consider your sister's feelings. You need to think about whether owning that house is worth damaging your relationship with your family. Are you seriously asking me to sell my house? We're asking you to do the right thing, my mom said. I stood up. The right thing is me enjoying the house I worked for years to afford. If Brianna wants a house, she can get a job and save for one like I did. I left before they could say anything else. Over the next week, I got constant calls and texts. My parents saying I was being selfish. Brianna saying I'd ruined her life. Extended family members I barely knew texting me about how I needed to make things right with my sister. I ignored all of it. I was busy making my house into a home. Painting walls, buying furniture, fixing things that needed repair. Then, 3 weeks after I'd closed on the house, the sheriff showed up with a lawsuit. I sat at my kitchen table reading the legal complaint, and with every page, my hands shook harder. They were suing me, my own parents, claiming that I'd purchased the house fraudulently, knowing that Brianna had plans to buy in that neighborhood. They claimed I owed Brianna the full value of the house, $425,000 plus $50,000 in emotional distress damages. The complaint painted me as a jealous, manipulative sister who deliberately sabotaged Brianna's dreams. It included a statement from Brianna describing how she'd always planned to buy a house in Dilworth, how she'd been saving for it, how I'd stolen her opportunity. None of it was true, but there it was in legal writing signed by my parents and sister. I called a lawyer immediately. Her name was Patricia Summers, and she specialized in family law disputes. I went to her office that afternoon with the lawsuit papers. Have you ever heard of anything like this? I asked after explaining the situation. I've seen family members sue each other over inheritance, business partnerships, loans. But I've never seen parents sue their adult child for buying a house with their own money. This is unprecedented. Can they win? Not if what you're telling me is true. You bought this house with your own money, correct? No financial help from them. Not a single dollar. And you have documentation of your income, your savings, the purchase? Everything. Bank statements, pay stubs, closing documents, all of it. Then no, they can't win. But they can make your life miserable for a while. Family lawsuits are ugly, even when they're baseless. Are you prepared for what this is going to do to your relationships? My relationships with them are already destroyed. They made that choice when they filed this lawsuit. Patricia nodded. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to file a response denying all their claims. Then we're going to file a motion to dismiss based on lack of legal standing. And we're going to countersue for attorney's fees and emotional distress. We're not going to just defend. We're going to go on offense. Good. Over the next 6 weeks, the legal process was brutal. My parents' lawyer filed motion after motion, trying to establish that I'd somehow defrauded Brianna. They subpoenaed my bank records. They demanded documentation of every dollar I'd ever earned. I gave them everything, because unlike my sister, I'd actually worked for my money and could prove it. Patricia's investigator also dug into Brianna's finances. What they found was stunning. Brianna had $847 in her savings account. She'd never held a job for longer than 4 months. She had no income beyond occasional gifts from our parents. She'd never made a single mortgage inquiry or pre-approval application. Your sister was never actually planning to buy a house, Patricia told me. She has no means to purchase property. This lawsuit is completely without merit. Then why did they file it? My guess? Your parents planned to buy her a house, and when you bought yours first, they decided to try to force you to give it up so they could give her that one instead. It's cheaper than buying her a different property. The realization hit me like a truck. They weren't suing because I'd wronged Brianna. They were suing to save themselves money. The court date arrived. We walked into the courtroom, and there they were. My parents in expensive suits, looking confident. Brianna in a designer dress, dabbing her eyes with a tissue for effect. Their lawyer, a stern man named Richard Porter, carrying a thick folder of documents. The judge, A woman in her 60s named Judge Margaret Lawson reviewed the case file before we started. "This is unusual," she said, looking at my parents' lawyer. Parents suing their adult daughter over a real estate purchase she made with her own funds. "Mr. Porter, explain your client's legal standing." "Your Honor, my client's daughter Juliana deliberately and maliciously purchased a property that her sister had been planning to acquire. This caused significant emotional distress and financial harm to Brianna Mitchell, who had spent months planning to purchase property in that specific neighborhood." "Did Brianna Mitchell have an offer on any property? A purchase agreement?" "No, Your Honor, but had she secured financing? Made any formal steps toward purchasing property?" "The emotional planning and investment is what matters here, Your Honor. Emotional planning doesn't give anyone legal claim to property someone else purchased." "Ms. Summers, your response?" Patricia stood. "Your Honor, this lawsuit is completely frivolous. My client purchased a house with money she earned and saved over 5 years. She has documentation of every dollar. Her sister, meanwhile, has no income, no savings, no mortgage pre-approval, no evidence of any actual plan to purchase property. This lawsuit is an attempt to force my client to give up property she legally owns simply because her sister decided she wanted it. We move to dismiss with prejudice and request attorney's fees." "I'd like to hear from the plaintiff," Judge Lawson said. "Brianna Mitchell, please take the stand." Brianna walked to the witness stand, still dabbing her eyes. "Ms. Mitchell, tell me about your plans to purchase a house in Dilworth," Judge Lawson said. "I'd been dreaming about living there for years," Brianna said, her voice shaking. "I looked at houses online all the time. I drove through the neighborhood every week. I told my whole family it was my dream neighborhood." "Did you take any concrete steps toward purchasing property? Did you save money? Apply for a mortgage?" "I was working on it. My parents were helping me figure out the financial part." "What does that mean, specifically?" "They were going to help with the down payment." "Were going to help? Or had committed to helping?" "They said they would help when I was ready." "And when were you planning to be ready?" Brianna hesitated. "Soon." "That's not a timeline, Ms. Mitchell. Had you contacted any lenders? Real estate agents? Made any offers on properties?" "Not yet, but I was going to." "So you had no concrete plans, no financing, no offers, no purchase agreements. You just liked the neighborhood." "It was more than that. It was my dream." "Dreams don't create legal ownership of property, Ms. Mitchell. Let me ask you something else. How much money do you currently have in savings?" Brianna's face went red. "I don't see how that's relevant." "It's extremely relevant. If you were seriously planning to purchase a home, you'd need funds. How much do you have saved?" I don't know exactly." "Your Honor," Patricia said, standing. "We subpoenaed Ms. Mitchell's bank records. She has $847 in savings. She has no job. She has no income beyond money her parents give her. She was never planning to buy a house because she has no means to buy a house." The courtroom was silent. "Ms. Mitchell, is that accurate?" Judge Lawson asked. "I was going to start saving," Brianna said quietly. "But you hadn't yet." "No." "Thank you. You may step down. I'd like to hear from Juliana Parker." I walked to the stand, my heart pounding. "Ms. Parker, tell me about how you purchased your house." "I worked 3 jobs for 5 years while living in a cheap apartment, so I could save for a down payment. I saved $60,000. I applied for a mortgage, got approved, found a house I could afford, and bought it. I did everything myself with no help from anyone. And you have documentation of this? Every pay stub, every bank statement, every savings deposit for 5 years. I have all of it." "Did you know your sister was planning to buy a house in Dilworth?" "No. She never mentioned house hunting to me. I found out she was supposedly interested in Dilworth after I'd already closed on my house." "Did you purchase your house with any intention of hurting your sister?" "No. I bought it because I'd been saving for years, and it was a house I could afford in a safe neighborhood. My sister's preferences never entered my mind because I didn't know about them." "Thank you. You may step down." Judge Lawson looked at my parents. "Mr. and Mrs. Mitchell, I'd like to understand your role in this lawsuit. Why are you suing your daughter?" My father stood. Your Honor, we believe our daughter acted maliciously toward her sister. We've always tried to treat both girls fairly, and Juliana has always been resentful of Brianna. Did you provide equal financial support to both daughters? We supported them according to their needs. That's not what I asked. Did you provide equal financial support? My father hesitated. Brianna needed more help. How much money have you given Brianna over the past 10 years, Mr. Mitchell? I don't have exact figures. Your Honor, Patricia said, standing. We've analyzed the Mitchell parents' financial records. Over the past 10 years, they've given Brianna approximately $340,000. College tuition, living expenses, failed business ventures, daily expenses. During that same period, they gave Juliana $6,200 total. The judge's eyebrows raised. Is that accurate, Mr. Mitchell? My father's face was bright red. Brianna needed more support to get established. And now you're suing your other daughter, who received virtually no financial support from you, because she managed to buy a house through her own hard work. Do you see how that looks? We're concerned about fairness between our daughters. Fairness? You gave one daughter $340,000 and the other $6,200, and you're concerned about fairness? Ms. Summers, anything else to add? Yes, Your Honor. We'd like to present evidence that the Mitchells' real motive for this lawsuit is financial. They were planning to buy Brianna a house, and when Juliana purchased hers first, they decided it was cheaper to sue her and try to force her to give up her property than to buy Brianna a different house. This lawsuit is about their money, not Brianna's dreams. That's a serious allegation, Judge Lawson said. We have text messages between Mr. and Mrs. Mitchell discussing exactly this. We subpoenaed their phone records. Patricia pulled out printed texts and handed them to the judge. I watched Judge Lawson read them, her expression growing darker with each page. Mr. Mitchell, did you send a text to your wife saying, if we can force Juliana to give up the house, we save ourselves $400,000? It's worth the legal fees? My father looked like he wanted to disappear. That was taken out of context. What context makes that statement acceptable? You sued your daughter to avoid spending money on your other daughter. This is one of the most disturbing cases I've seen in 20 years on the bench. She closed the folder and looked at all of us. Here's my ruling. The Mitchell parents' case is dismissed with prejudice. You have no legal standing to sue your daughter for buying property with her own money. Not only is your case without merit, it's vindictive, manipulative, and financially abusive. Juliana Parker did nothing wrong. She bought a house with money she earned and saved. The fact that her sister wants to live in the same neighborhood is completely irrelevant. My mother gasped. My father's face went pale. Brianna started crying, real tears this time. Furthermore, Judge Lawson continued, I'm awarding Juliana Parker $45,000 in attorney's fees to be paid by Robert and Diane Mitchell within 60 days. And I'm ordering the Mitchells to pay an additional $25,000 in sanctions for filing a frivolous lawsuit. You wasted this court's time. You attempted to steal from your daughter, and you did it all to save yourselves money. That's unconscionable. She banged her gavel. Case dismissed. I sat there in shock. I'd won. Completely, totally won. My parents and Brianna left the courtroom without looking at me. Their lawyer followed, looking embarrassed. Patricia turned to me. That was the most satisfying case of my career. Your parents just got destroyed. We walked out of the courthouse together. I felt lighter than I had in months. What happens now? I asked. They pay you $70,000 within 60 days, or you can put a lien on their assets. And they'll probably never speak to you again, which honestly sounds like a win. She was right. My parents paid the $70,000 3 weeks later. Not because they wanted to, but because their lawyer told them they'd lose everything if they fought it. I used $45,000 to pay Patricia. The remaining $25,000 went into renovating my kitchen. My parents sent one email after they paid. We hope you're happy. You've destroyed this family over a house. I responded once. I didn't destroy anything. You did that when you sued me. Don't contact me again. I blocked their numbers, their emails, everything. Brianna tried reaching out 6 months later through a mutual friend. The message said she wanted to apologize and explain. I didn't respond. There was nothing to explain. She'd participated in a lawsuit to steal my house. That told me everything I needed to know about her character. Now, 2 years after that courtroom victory, I'm 34 years old. I still live in my house in Dilworth. I've renovated it room by room with money I've saved from my job. It's beautiful. It's mine. And nobody can take it from me. I have no relationship with my parents or sister. No contact at all. And I'm completely at peace with that. Because here's what I learned from the family that sued me over my house. Some people will never be happy for your success. They'll see everything you earn as something they're entitled to. They'll try to take what you've worked for and convince themselves they deserve it more. And when family does that to you, you don't owe them forgiveness. You don't owe them reconciliation. You owe them nothing. My parents gave Brianna $340,000 over 10 years. They gave me $6,200. And when I managed to buy a house anyway through years of sacrifice, they tried to sue me and take it for her. They lost. In court, legally, permanently. And they lost me too. I built this life with no help from them. I bought this house with no support from them. And I'm living my best life with no contact from them. Sometimes the people who are supposed to love you will try to steal your dreams the second you achieve them. Sometimes family is the biggest threat to your success. And sometimes the only way to protect what you've built is to cut them off completely. I don't regret buying my house. I don't regret fighting the lawsuit. I don't regret cutting off my family. Because they showed me exactly who they were the moment they decided I didn't deserve to own something I'd worked for. And I showed them exactly who I was when I fought back and won. Have you ever had family try to take something you worked for? Have you been sued by people who were supposed to love you? Have you had to choose between keeping toxic family in your life and protecting what you've built? Share your stories in the comments. I want to hear about the moment you chose yourself over people who tried to steal from you. If this story resonated with you, hit the like button and subscribe for more real stories about families who tried to take what wasn't theirs and the people who fought back. Share this with someone who needs to hear that you're allowed to defend what you've earned, even from family. Especially from family. Thank you for watching. And remember, people who truly love you celebrate your success. People who try to steal it never loved you at all. They loved what they thought they could take from you. And they deserve nothing.